Module 5, Freedom and Determinism, Lecture 5B, Free Will, Existentialism. Free will. Free will is also known as libertarianism. The mind is an agent capable of making choices. Based on our own subjective experience, it seems that we have free will. We're constantly making choices about minor matters, like what to order on a menu, and major matters like whom to marry. For many philosophers, the inner experience of free will seems sufficient to say it exists. By the way, the word libertarianism means free will. It also has a meaning in politics of no government, but that's not the meaning here. It means the ability to make choices. Nonetheless, many philosophers and scientists believe free will is an illusion. The reason they dislike the idea of free will is that it's based on a mind separate from the brain, not limited by physical laws. The brain works by physical laws, but the mind does not. Free will seems to be a return to the dualism of Descartes. Again, dualism says there's two substances, mind and body. How do they interact? Nonetheless, we seem to have the ability to choose. How can philosophers deny something obvious? The issue of free will seems as problematic as the issue of consciousness itself. Why is this issue important? As mentioned earlier, if we believe in determinism, then we do not have a reason to study ethics. Ethics is based on the idea that we have free will whether to pursue good or evil. Existentialism. Existentialism is a philosophy of absolute free will or extreme free will. According to existentialists, there are no excuses. We are free to create ourselves. In fact, one leading existentialist thinker, Jean-Paul Sartre, 1905 to 1980, pictured on the right, taught that man is condemned to be free. It became a major movement in the second half of the 20th century, particularly influential on college campuses. In many ways, existentialism is a reaction to Aristotle's philosophy. Aristotle taught that everything in the universe, including human beings, has an essence, a purpose, why it exists. Everything tries to fulfill its purpose. For Aristotle, human beings are rational animals, and he will develop an entire ethical system called virtue ethics based on this human purpose. To say that human beings have an essence is known as essentialism. Existentialism is the opposite of essentialism. For existentialists, there is not a purpose, no essence of being human. Humans simply exist. To use a phrase by the leading existentialist thinker and member of the Nazi Party, Martin Heidegger, 1889 to 1976, humans are thrown into the world. They then create their own essence. They exist and they decide who they want to be. To quote Sartre once again, existence precedes essence. We exist and then we become the kind of people we choose to be. Two of the earliest existential thinkers, people we already mentioned, were Soren Kierkegaard, 1813 to 1855, and Friedrich Nietzsche, 1844 to 1900. Kierkegaard was religious, taught that each of us can choose to make a leap of faith, become a Christian. Remember, he offered three different choices we each have. Most important to him was the choice to be religious. Nietzsche was an atheist who taught that God is dead, and therefore each of us can become a god, an Übermensch or Superman. Although they disagreed on religion, they agreed that humans have absolute freedom to create themselves. Most modern existentialists, such as Heidegger, Sartre, Sartre's frequent companion and lover, feminist thinker Simone de Beauvoir, 1908 to 1986, and the famous novelist and Nobel Prize winner Albert Camus, 1913 to 1960, were strict atheists. They believe we live in an absurd, meaningless universe. Camus, in his famous essay, The Myth of Sisyphus, pictured life like a man rolling a rock up a hill only for it to roll down again. This was an ancient Greek myth. So the man must start all over and roll the rock up for all eternity. Yet poor Sisyphus finds meaning in this endless task. He ends the essay, by the way, with the words, "One can imagine that Sisyphus was happy." We can find meaning in a meaningless universe and still take responsibility to create ourselves. Sartre was an ethical nihilist. Remember that a nihilist believes that no ethical standards exist. To Sartre, there was no God to lay out such standards. In a famous incident, a young man came to Sartre during the Nazi occupation of Paris and asked for his advice. Should he stay home and care for his elderly mother who had no one else? Or should he go into hiding and work for the French resistance? Sartre said he could not answer the question. There is no standard which would provide an answer. The young man must simply make a choice. That is why Sartre believed that we are condemned to be free. Free will means that we are responsible for our choices. Nonetheless, it is part of human nature to evade responsibility for the choices we make and to rationalize bad behavior. That is the idea behind what philosophers call moral justification. We will explore this in the next video.